Star fam, what's up? Oneskyastrology lunar cycle report back in effect a little early this month because this is a very exciting month. And I wanted to give everybody a little bit of time, a little bit of extra time to kind of watch the video, digest the video, prepare for this new moon. It's going to be a new moon on May 11th, 2021. We're going to be seeing this new moon align in the constellation of Aries. And that's a little bit different from what you may have heard. We're using constellational astrology, aka true sidereal astrology, and this is a kind of astrology that uses the actual visible skies to generate sign boundaries. So when we talk about a new moon in Aries, that's because the new moon is in the stars of Aries. This is the way ancient people and mainstream Western practitioners would read this. The mainstream Western world places this in late Taurus, but you know, we're going to use the true sidereal system, as I do in all my practice and all my videos. So this is the first new moon in Aries. The last new moon was in Pisces, and we were wrapping up the last solar year. In a sense, in a psychological sense, the journey around the zodiac begins with Aries. Aries initiates new cycles. And it's a very impulsive, instinctual. It just kind of has a drive to go, and so we're coming out of the gate this month, and there's a lot of positive alignments. There's every reason to kind of come out sprinting, as it were. Last month was a real grind. It was a real grinding cycle. Not only were we looking back on the whole of the last solar year, and, you know, that was a lot. And we're wrapping up loose ends, making way for this new beginning. But, you know, there were some really difficult alignments. There were some very unfavorable alignments for relationship. There were some very chaotic alignments. And it was just a very difficult month emotionally for many people. So this month holds much better news, much better forecast, and I'm very glad to get into that in this video. The energies here are integrated. They're by which I mean we have powerful positive forces working together. So we're having inspiration. We have a sense of moving towards independence on a personal level. Innovative energies, creative energies, artistically speaking. It's a very daring and lucky signature that we see in the new moon. And the new moon is sort of the brand or the stamp of the cycle. The new moon is the seed. And as we see the seed in the heavens above, the seeds that we plant through intention, prayer, ceremony, magic, you know, connection to the divine and the spirit of this conscious construct that we call reality, are going to grow. They're going to grow into the trees and fruit, or the plants, if you like, that reflect the nature of the seed. So we want to be intentional. We want to be careful, because this isn't just the new moon that's going to start a monthly cycle, but it's a new moon that's going to reflect the beginning of a yearly cycle. The full moon is going to be a really powerful eclipse. It's going to be potentially fortunate, but with power comes a need to kind of keep your balance on that wave, not get thrown, and we'll look at how to align with that. And all in all, this is really positive as the first in a series, again, not just the monthly series, but the journey of the sun around the zodiac, which is the story of psychological individuation on a personal level and growth and development on a collective level begins in Aries. So we're seeing the first of a series that'll last a year. So it's delightful that the news is good. It's an opportunity to, again, kind of come out of the gate sprinting confidently, if we can align with this. Everything's pretty much where we left it last month, except for Mars has moved into Gemini. Venus has passed the Pleiades and sits in Taurus, which is very well placed. And Jupiter is in Aquarius. Everything else is just where we left it. And the nodes are approaching the royal stars, south node of the moon here approaching Alpha Scorpio, Antares, one of the largest, brightest, most powerful stars in the sky, and the north node of the moon approaching fixed star Aldebaran. These are royal stars, archangel stars. These are very powerful stars, massive stars that dwarf our sun and play a major role in sidereal mythology, in astrology. And when the nodes are with them and sun and moon are approaching the nodes, we have eclipses. So as I mentioned, we have a full moon eclipse, and that's going to lead into June 10th's solar eclipse. So we have a full moon eclipse, a lunar eclipse, and then a new moon, the next new moon after this new moon taking place in Taurus next month, June 10th, will be an eclipse. And all in all, I think it could be a very positive eclipse, a very beneficial eclipse. And I'm actually really very happy to give this report. It's very nice to have good news. We've been in a cycle for the last 3, maybe, arguably 5 months of just grind, like brutal, ruthless grind. And, the clouds are parting here. So we're looking at the new moon. We're looking at the new moon, which takes place on May 11th, 2021. And this is reflecting the heavens we just looked at. So that new moon is happening in late Aries. And this sun-moon conjunction, the new moon, makes no harsh aspects, except a very wide square. Almost, some people wouldn't read this as a square. It's too wide. But we are making a little bit of square to Saturn. So there's a call to action here. The square is always challenging us to do something, to take some kind of role, to integrate energies. Aries and Capricorn, where the new moon and Saturn are, both initiate new cycles. Saturn in Capricorn is going to bring structure, discipline, patience, a sense of cool groundedness, responsibility to this. It's going to help us focus and fix our minds on the goal. Because at this time, we're planting seeds. We're building a plan. We're building a plan for the year to come, and we're building a plan for the month ahead. The new moon is that time when we initiate our intentions for the whole cycle. So I'm going to talk about the waxing quarter moon, the full moon, the waning quarter moon, and we'll take a look at the next new moon as usual in an attempt to understand the whole cycle, so that we can really, really maximize our work in the garden of our life, so to speak. So we have new moon on Aries Taurus cusp, and I want to look, before we talk much about relationships and aspects to other planets, just what does that mean? we have Aries, and Aries initiates new patterns. It initiates new cycles of behavior, and it does it largely instinctually. So it's actually very nice that we're connected to Saturn, even very faintly, because Saturn is very composed and reserved and a bit better thought out than Aries. Aries is very dynamic, very willful, forceful energy, but it tends to be, again, purely instinctive. This is like a pre-verbal, almost a precognitive impulse that arises just from our basic desires. And we're on the cusp of Taurus, so the energies of Taurus are going to play into the cycle as well. And Taurus stabilizes through the generation and development of what is valuable to us. So it stabilizes things. And it does this by developing inner values, and it does this by developing self-reliance, self-appreciation, self-sufficiency, self-love. These are Taurus's words, and these are Venus's stars. But it's not so much about relationship with others. Taurus is about our relationship with ourselves. So it's about our values and our inner compass. It's also about our valuables and about stability and security in the world. So it relates to self-sufficiency and a self-sustaining impulse in that way too. That we're initiating new forms of self-actualization in Aries, developing self-reliance by the increase of what is valuable to us in Taurus. And this is the rough sketch of the Aries-Taurus cusp. It's a cusp of stars of Mars and stars of Venus. So first I want to look at Mars. Mars is ruling the constellation that the new moon takes place in. So this is called the dispositor. And when Mars is on the star that it's on, Gamma Gemini, fixed star Elena, the foot of Pollux, the immortal twin. What we see is an influence that's very fashionable and it's very artistic. It's very visually appealing. There's a talent here, a sort of flair, a kind of creative potential that even if your goals for the year aren't to necessarily create vivid works of art, this can bring a certain quality, a certain, how do you say, like a je ne sais quoi to what you're doing, like a certain quality that is somewhat refined, creative, easy to appreciate. We've actually seen the sun moving through Aries since the 21st of March. So at that time, on the 21st of March, this is really in one form of calculation, that would be like the sidereal New Year. And again, there are different ways of calculating the sidereal New Year. But I'm not going to get into that in this video. I'm only going to say that I'm talking about this from a psychological perspective, from the point of view of the collective influence. So some people place the New Year right about here in Pisces, where the sun rises on the northern hemisphere vernal equinox. But that would be, totally different for people in the southern hemisphere. Without getting into all that, I find this to be more accurate to the collective because we're using the stars themselves and just the raw archetypes. So I want to call everyone's attention to a really interesting formation here. We see in the close relationships surrounding the moon that we have a theme here. We have Mars trine to Uranus, sextile to Uranus. And this Mars sextile to Uranus is very close. It's to a degree from exact. of 0 degrees, just 9 arc minutes, very, very close to perfected. And we also see that Mars is square to Chiron, bringing the energies of healing into the frame. And again, I use the phrase a call to action for the square. The square is very much this. It's a challenge. The challenge to us is to step up, to balance, to harmonize, to mix two energies that may present a little bit of dynamic tension. The square is often associated with obstacles, but the action here is to heal. Chiron brings psychological progress and soul healing, healing on a soul level, healing of even the deepest and most painful inner traumas that we have gone through. We have also in this formation Mercury on the Mars-Uranus midpoint. So where Mars is making harmonious aspect to Uranus, it's also making harmonious aspect to Mercury. Mercury is sextile to Chiron, and Uranus is making a harmonious semi-sextile. So we have a very tightly formed bunch of planets here between Mercury, Mars, Uranus, and Chiron. And what I see here is an opportunity. With Mars square to Chiron, the call is to heal, and the Mars in Gemini and Chiron in Pisces are both immutable stars. So this has to do with breaking down old systems, breaking down obstacles to our own healing, progress, growth, emergence. In that way, it kind of continues the theme of last month. It kind of continues the theme of tying up loose ends. But at this time, the energies are very strong to heal through the removal or the change of systems that no longer serve us, psychologically or spiritually, emotionally. As I mentioned, Mars is very closely sextiled to Uranus, and the sextile is like an option that's open to us. And the option here is to break new ground, to initiate new patterns, to initiate new cycles of activity, of thought in Gemini, and of activity in Aries. And this is very, very fortunate alignment. Mars and Uranus is one of the few combinations in the sky that when they're in contact, we're advised to take risks. We're advised to kind of lean in, take chances. It's very likely that this will pay off for us. Fortune favors the bold at this time. With the Chiron semi-sextile to Uranus, we're tying up loose ends with the semi-sextile. And it's a very harmonious relationship. So the tying up of loose ends should be relatively assisted, relatively free of struggle to do so. And there's healing work around boundaries. There's healing work around our relationship to spirit. And it relates to the beginning of this new collective cycle. So anything you have in mind that you want to build next month through this year, we want to take a look first and see. We want to weed the garden, right, before we plant. We want to get rid of obstacles to growth before we initiate a new cycle of activity, new thought patterns, new behaviors, stepping out in a new way, boldly. But we also are empowered here to take stock. And again, Saturn square the new moon is going to lend clarity and a careful approach to this. So we don't want to be hurried here. We don't just want to come out of the gate thinking all our troubles are behind us. But we do want to be careful, and we want to acknowledge. I think it's in our best interest to acknowledge this as a signature of healing, of breaking ground, of making way in a very fortunate way, in a very blessed way, where taking chances are favored. And you'll notice all of this is formed by very close aspects. Sorry, I misdrew. These are the aspects. Mercury is trine to Saturn, which increases that Saturnian care and discipline, patience, kind of jurisprudence around all of this, just a kind of judiciousness around what should we keep, what should we grow, what should we be doing at this time. But the very close alignments here that I'm talking about in this formation of Mars, Uranus, Mercury, and Chiron, are all within like 1 degree. You get 1 degree 2 minutes, which is pretty negligible. But it's all very much very tight, very impactful relationships here. So this is what I think is going to be one of the main signatures of this new moon, an opportunity to try healthier new patterns on, an invitation, a kind of open door to take chances on yourself. And with Mercury and Uranus together, we always have a more like not necessarily a visionary insight, but almost like an intuitive and instinctual insight where our subconscious is connected to our conscious, and we're able to access higher orders, deeper orders, more like genius orders of thought. So we want to apply that. We want to apply that, and it's assisted by another interesting formation relating to Sun and Moon, in that Sun and Moon are trine to Pluto, which is now retrograde, going against the grain, going against the flow. And Neptune sits on the midpoint, making sextiles to each of these points, the new moon point and the Pluto point. And this is a very harmonious arrangement, very harmonious and auspicious configuration of planets. And it's auspicious largely because when we deal with Neptune, Pluto, and Sun and Moon, what we're looking at here is like, if I draw a wave here, the deep waters, the deep ocean waters, that's Neptune, the spirit, the collective, the ocean of consciousness. And so if we look at the wave then, the sort of within that ocean, as an expression of that ocean itself, a more individuated, a more individual expression of that, a sort of contraction of consciousness within itself, which is experiencing itself. That's Pluto. That's the soul. So we have the spirit of Neptune. We have the soul signified by Pluto. And then when you look at the crest of the wave, right, as the the action is happening, as it's breaking, this is the conscious mind signified by Sun and Moon. And when you have them in a formation like this, they're talking to each other very, very clearly, very deeply. We have access here from the point of Sun and Moon, the conscious mind, to, and not even access to, but I would say integration with, because the trine is a very effortless blending of energies. So our conscious mind here is able to be in touch with our soul, our deep unconscious. It knows the needs, it knows the desires of our evolutionary purpose on a soul level. And so when we're planting these seeds, when we're weeding our garden, making way, and setting intentions of growth, setting intentions of initiation of a new cycle, we're doing this on some level, whether we want to be or not, in connection to our deep mind, the deepest part of our mind that is our soul, that immortal mind stream. And all of this is in harmonious flow to Neptune, which sits at home in Pisces, the stars that it's resonant with. So we have a very powerful connection to spirit that's available to us. It's open to us. If trines are effortless, then sextiles are like a switch that we have the option to turn on or turn off. So I invite you at this time to set intentions in alignment with your soul's plan for your life, in accord with your connection. Like, turn on that connection to spirit, turn on that connection, and request insight, help, intuition, hunches, or straight up downloads of guidance, because this is a cycle where we're very likely to receive that relating to the full moon, which we'll get to later in the video. These are the main aspects that are affecting the new moon, and the cycle isn't without its long-term squares. We still have Pluto-Eris square in effect. It goes into its 4th contact out of 5 on the 9th of October. So we're kind of, just hanging for now in an in-between zone. The 3rd contact, which was the big happening, the major effect, happened 4 days away from the insurrection in the United States Capitol. And it's interesting because Aries is most famously associated with civil war, with internal strife, with struggle and disharmony, chaos, discord, the power of projection to create enemies out of psychological distortion. And Pluto is approaching its return at the formation at the time of July 4th, 1776, at the time of the initiation of the United States of America. Or in other words, if you cast a natal chart for United States of America, Pluto would be right here on the cusp of Cap and Sag. So this is very interesting because for those of you who remember, that is exactly where the great conjunction happened, the great reset, this great financial signifier, right on Pluto's point of placement in the United States natal chart. And now US is up for its Pluto return. So we're already in the degree of this has started. This is already initiated. So we have Pluto signifying change, transformation, death and rebirth, regeneration, and really the deepest core desires within something that compel and impel it forward through time from a soul level. And this does function in the charts of countries. There's a collective consciousness, we have a collective unconscious, and that's signified by Pluto. So we have the influence of civil war and the influence of Pluto return. We see for the 3rd contact insurrection and an attempted coup in the capital of the United States, where Pluto's most relevant. And as many of you know, Pluto-Eris was making its 1st contact right around the time of the emergence of COVID. When Pluto and Eris get together, it's usually chaotic change. We have chaotic change. Also active at this time as a challenging aspect is Saturn and Uranus. And again, Saturn in Capricorn, Uranus in Aries, these are cardinal stars initiating new cycles. Saturn and Uranus, I looked at them a couple months ago, and I'll cover them next month because that's going to go exact. That'll go exact in June, I believe on the 14th, but don't quote me on that. We'll get there in June's video. It'll go exact for its 2nd contact. So this is the It's kind of the one where we'll see the emergence of the interesting pattern. For more on the the Saturn-Uranus contact, this square and their whole planetary cycle, take a look at my video a couple months back. It's in the title, the Saturn-Uranus planetary cycle. Lastly, this isn't a long-term square, and it's not a bad square. Not that the other two squares are necessarily bad, but they're difficult. They involve planets and stars of the nature of challenge, of obstacle, of you could say malefic or challenge-giving planets. While this square between Venus and Jupiter involves the two benefics. They tend to square well. There can be a kind of fortunate feeling that inspires people to laziness. So I just want to make note of this, because this is not a time to be like sitting back like, whew, we're out of the woods. Last month was terrible. This month feels better. I just want to sit back, crack a cold one. No, we need to channel the momentum that we've gained through the hard work that we've done over the last year and plant it constructively in the soil of our psyche, creating intentions to manifest our best, our highest design in accord with our soul and with spirit at this time. But there can be tendencies toward laziness with Jupiter square Venus. And this is the signature of the new moon. So I would sum it up as a time to engage in setting intentions. If you have intentions for growth, they're favored here. If you have intentions for taking chances, striking out in a new direction, doing something bold, they're favored here. If you feel aligned with your soul and with spirit, with the ocean of consciousness and with your immortal aspect, the side of you that incarnates through lifetimes, takes on egos to experience the lessons of its own growth, and is basically the function of the universe's desire to experience itself. We're coming at this from that level. Like we're going 3 levels deep. We've got the conscious, we've got the subconscious. Below it, we've got the unconscious of the soul, and then we have the level of spirit, just pure conscious construct. We have all this integrated and moving in our favor. So it's a great time to align, to seek, to plan. If you don't have a plan, if you're just like, holy crap, I'm on the ropes, the last year has been just truly hell, and I have no idea what am I supposed to do, what am I supposed to build. At this time, my best advice would be to ask in meditation or prayer that you be shown, that you be through some form of guidance or omen or intuition, hunch, insight, whatever, that you be shown during this lunation what it is that you're supposed to be building. Because there will be time after this to develop, and if you don't have a clear picture, this is a time to bring your intentions into focus. If they're fuzzy, that's okay. I'm going to shift now to the waxing quarter moon. And waxing quarter moon sees the sun enter Taurus. So Venus becomes ruler of the sun. Mercury is also in Taurus. So, Mars, which is ruling Uranus, which is ruling Jupiter, which is ruling Pluto, all come under the purview of Venus. So this is a very, very powerful Venusian energy, where Venus sits at the top of the dispositor chain, ruling in a trickle-down way, almost all of the other planets, except for Saturn, who's at home. He rules himself. Neptune's at home, rules herself or itself or whatever Neptune is. But we have Venus with North Node, so Venus is going to be close to fixed star Aldebaran. Venus is also going to be in a part of the sky that gives great appetites. So we may feel a real desire that the plans that we're setting in motion come to fruition. And the moon is on Regulus. So we have Venus and Node on Aldebaran, South Node on Antares, and Moon on Regulus. And if you know your stars, those are three big ones. They are the three of the four greatest stars in the sky. And we have them activated. Here in this chart, opposite the moon sits Jupiter. And again, Jupiter makes harsh aspects a little more favorable. With Jupiter opposite moon, we could tend to see an increase in our feelings of our need to manifest and express the sort of the fiery kind of impulse and will and motivation driven energies of this cycle. As it initiates in Aries, now moon's in Leo. This is all about drive. This is all about me. On an individual level, this cycle is likely to manifest powerfully as desirous of progress, of gain, of whatever your desire is. Some people desire to heal. Some people desire, not to be seen. Some people desire to be seen. Some people want wealth. Some people want freedom. Desire is an endless wellspring, but never more so than when Venus is with North Node. And this can be tempered because there's a trine to Saturn. So Saturn's sensibilities in Capricorn, again, cool, reserved, ground level, very pragmatic, very practical influence. This can lend some alleviation to the Venus North Node effect. But a lot of these planets are under Venus's purview. So this is going to be powerful. And the sun is in Taurus. So moon is reflecting light of sun from Regulus and opposite to Jupiter, which means sun in Taurus T-squares a Jupiter-moon opposition. And when Jupiter and moon, even when they oppose, there's the potential for gain. Jupiter and moon have the potential to bring wealth whenever they're in contact in this way. When they're conjoined, when they're square, when they're opposite. These are called fourth harmonic contacts. And when Jupiter and moon make fourth harmonic contacts, there's the potential for gain. When moon is on Regulus, this could be really powerful. And this is at this point in the cycle, the first quarter moon, we're looking only at the emergence of what's to come. So again, balancing the real potential to achieve our desires with the kind of boundless nature of those desires is the sort of balancing act that this chart exhibits. And we really, with Venus in Taurus and Sun in Taurus, are going to be under an influence here which supports self-love, supports self-appreciation, and supports our ability to show up for ourselves. And all of this, going back to May 11th, we want to build this in to our intentions that we set for this cycle. To some extent for this whole year, but this cycle, the sun will be moving through Taurus. And so the main energy here is going to be around developing stability for ourselves in accord with our highest intentions, our deepest mind, and the powerful subconscious and unconscious drive to be free, to individuate, and also to be one with everything. We all want this on a soul level. It's kind of Pluto's death urge. It's like the urge to return to the source. It also, Pluto being very dualistic, has an individual urge where it desires to take on individual personalities, egos. The soul part of us, the immortal part of us, will adopt different personages through lifetimes in order to experience the arc of its growth. So Pluto wants both. It wants to be an individual, and it wants to go back home. It wants to go back home to the Tao, to the flow, to the great ocean. And every wave eventually does. But the last thing I want to point out about this first quarter moon, the emergence of the pattern of the cycle, is that Mars is on Sirius, which can give greatness. It's just Mars on Sirius can give great desire, great willpower, great strength of intention. And so this is just a really activated time, especially with Mars maintaining its sextile to Uranus, initiating bold, brave new steps, new cycles, taking new chances. So all of this is favored. Powerful stars are activating points and planets during this cycle. And we'll jump forward to the full moon on 26th of May. We are going to witness a full moon in the vicinity of lunar nodes, which means we're going to have a lunar eclipse. So this is a little more complicated. So I'm going to kind of slow my roll, take it easy. The first thing that I want to say is that the moon is going to be conjoined to South Node in constellation Scorpio. The Sun still in Taurus with North Node. Now, when Sun is with North Node and Moon is with South Node, it's always the light of the Sun that the Moon is reflecting. So the Sun is really the core of the expression here. The moon is the ever-shifting nature of the expression, and in its fullness here is going to be at its most powerful and most dynamic. But with South Node, we may experience destabilization. Something could be changed, Scorpio, or taken from us, South Node. But this is actually connected to, because the nodes always function as a pair, always function together. This is connected to North Node on Aldebaran in Taurus. So what we're looking at is transformation in alignment with the generation of greater stability and self-appreciation. It's possible at this time that anything that stands in the way of our stability, our success, our ability to love ourselves, and our success in our self-relationship could be taken, could be stripped away, could be transformed, could be changed, could be... Scorpio has a ruthless, a really brutal quality, and it just comes through and just, chops off limbs. And if it's aligned well, it'll chop off the dead limbs for the benefit of the tree. And there is that potential here. But we want to be aware that these lunar nodes are on a powerful stellar axis of Antares and Aldebaran. Now, when we have South Node signifying the past and North Node signifying the future, switched So let's say we have south node on Aldebaran and north node on Antares. This gets called the axis of disaster because what is stable, Taurus, Aldebaran, gets taken south node. It gets removed, destroyed, in favor of the movement towards Antares, the heart of the Scorpion, death and rebirth eventually. And through the death and rebirth process, we learn about our regenerative power. We learn about our ability to rejuvenate ourselves on a soul level and from our deepest core. We gain, through that process, tremendous psychological insight. But what I'm focusing on here is only to illustrate that this axis gets called the axis of misfortune, the axis of disaster. It's a difficult axis because Antares is ruthless and Aldebaran is forceful, powerful. So this is a big wave. This eclipse is a big wave and we want to ride it. In order to ride it skillfully, to stay on the surfboard, to not get thrown, we want to understand what eclipse cycle this eclipse is part of. And I quote Bernadette Brady here when she, in The Eagle and the Lark, her book on which covers predictive astrology, she writes about this series of eclipse, also known as Saros series. She writes that this is a really fortunate and unusual Saros series. It involves sudden flashes of ideas that seem to have a psychic or unconscious flavor to them. Hunches, visions, prophetic dreams are the essence of this family of eclipses. A truly creative series, which should leave the individual enriched. The ideas or hunches which come from this eclipse can be acted on. This is a legitimate connection to spirit that we're likely to be dealing with here. So if you receive information, even if you're not clairvoyant, a spiritualist, a medium, even if you're not sure where it's coming from, this is a time when actionable information is coming to us from the deep mind, deep in the mind, and from the big mind, from the construct of reality itself. The process is conscious, and we can trust it. So I want to encourage everyone to trust the conscious process and to lean in if you're getting feelings. Again, with this Mars, Uranus signature with the new moon, we've got a cycle which is marked by the brand of leaning in, taking chances. And not only are we able to lean in and take chances, but we're able to receive visionary or prophetic or intuitive insight of depth and act on it. So even if you don't have dreams, even if you aren't hearing voices, even if you feel like you have no connection to the psychic realms, follow your gut, follow the hunches, follow any weird feeling at this time. Again, we're looking at May 26th, 2021. At this time, and around this time, a couple days leading up to this time, at this time, and a couple days following, we want to be really attuned to like just any strong sensations we have, any pull in a particular direction, any desire to take a particular course of action or make a particular decision, strongly indicated that this is actionable. Mars is on Alpha Gemini, a star called Castor. And again, we see Mars it was on Elena, then it was on Sirius, or in the degree of Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, and now it's on Alpha Gemini, Castor. So this cycle initiating in Aries sees strong Mars placements throughout, and Mars is in harmonious relationship to Neptune, the planet which is governing dreams, insight, intuition, psychic phenomena, hunches, knowings. So if you get the knowings, Neptune, act on them. Mars. As far as this being the axis of disaster, because I did sort of jump ship there and went a different direction, I want to step back to the nodal axis and indicate one more time, for clarity's sake, that south node, when it's with Antares, as it is talking about the removal of something. It could be the removal of something deep. It could be the removal of something around a toxic nature. It could be the removal of something that existed previously. So we're dealing with change in the structure. We're dealing with transformation from one thing to another. And, all of this is moving in this direction this time. So where this gets called, this Aldebaran Antares stellar, the star axis gets called axis of disaster, I think not only are sun and moon well positioned, that the main energy here is around stability, gain, growth, self-sufficiency, profit, etc. But the north node and south node are also well positioned. And I, on an intuitive level, have a very hard time reading this as disastrous. Although if it is, if you lose something, if something changes, transforms, if this eclipse brings something that just feels painful to have it stripped away or changed, this is moving in the direction of stability and self-appreciation. So very likely to be a blessing in disguise. Very likely, as powerful as it may be, and as savage as Scorpio is, and South Node on Antares, it can come out of nowhere and just wreck the place. It really does have that potential, I'm not going to lie. But what is being made way for is for the benefit of the collective and for the benefit of the individual. This full moon sees Mercury and Venus conjoined on the degree of fixed star El Noth, the horns of the bull, and squaring Neptune in Pisces. This is also very favorable for gain. So we may experience insight that is a sort of clarion call for us to take action, whether it be communicative or relating to others, of the nature of profit, benefit, gain. So we may see these kind of intuitions this cycle. And if you feel that call, I would strongly suggest you act on it. Everyone has hunches, everyone wants to gain, everyone wants to profit. It's very natural, there's nothing wrong with it. But when we get that urge, like, oh, I want more, we're not always acting out of the right space, and we're not always in accord with the design for our lives or in alignment with spirit. So at this time, very likely to have a lot more clarity around those issues than usual. There could be issues with a Mars-Pluto opposition around truth, around the information that we're getting, information Gemini, and how we act on it, Mars. And then what's really true, what's really in accord with higher principles and natural law. These are Sagittarius's themes. This is what Sag is very interested in. What's true, what's actually true, not because people said it's true or a bunch of people in funny hats tell you it's true, but because natural law, the natural organizational principles of reality itself make it true, because true is true is true. So, Gemini has a shaky relationship with truth. It loves information, but it's just kind of like, it needs Sagittarius. It needs that balance to actually discern really how to organize that information in alignment with truth. So we may see with Pluto and Mars opposite, very high energy with Pluto and Mars. The force of nature that Pluto and Mars are when they get together is can really bring a certain high running desire and so libidinous nature, desire nature can run high at this time. And actually Mars in Gemini, the main reason I say this is because the cycle originated in Aries. Mars stays important. And Mars in Gemini opposite Pluto is already tough, but we have a T-square from Eris, a trine to Neptune, and in short, the Eris thing, the Neptune thing, and Mars in Gemini, it kind of creates a situation where the desire energies are running high. We can feel kind of like slutty but confused, and sexual energies, even though they're running high, it's not very advisable at this time during this full moon to act on every impulse that crosses your mind. You can put it that way. With Eris, with Neptune, with Pluto, with Castor's unfavorable. Again, Castor is Alpha Gemini, fixed star Alpha Gemini. With Castor's unfavorable influence on Mars, and it just makes it restless and scattered and kind of unfocused. And then the relationship to Sun Moon in the eclipse, which is the nature of the semi-square and the sesquiquadrate. These are harsh aspects. These are obstacle-forming aspects. We are really well advised here to look before we leap. With any action, especially with actions around using force or power over others, it's Pluto, or any sexual engagement. Mars in Gemini is, again, slutty, but there are a lot, it's Mars in Gemini is kind of like, hey, sailor. And then everything bearing down on Mars is like, no, don't do that. So, just listen to that good voice, the one that comes from the upper brain. We can channel libido energies constructively here. We can really channel this constructively into looking for new and interesting ways to profit from your hunches. Like main issue, like we have stability, profit, growth, security. Looking for opportunities, new patterns of thought, initiating new habits, new behaviors, new patterns of thought that help and support us to love and appreciate ourselves. Our self-relationship here will be the basis of our relationship with others. And this is a great time to take stock of that. This is a very interesting full moon. Very, very interesting full moon. Kind of complicated. I'm glad we got through that. I want to open the waning moon. At this time, we're into June. So we've got June 2nd here. We've got a waning quarter moon in constellation Aquarius with Jupiter. Again, moon and Jupiter together, auspicious for gain, auspicious for profit. The sun is with Aldebaran and the North Node, and the moon's with Jupiter. Again, with North Node, you have appetites. North Node, the head of the dragon, it never gets enough. It's like with North Node, the slogan is the more you take, the more you need. And people with Rahu problems have these problems. People with North Node problems have the problem of it's never enough. They're never satisfied. Again, the more you take, the more you need. So we want to watch this. We will really want to keep our finger on that pulse, because this is profitable. This is excellent. There are a lot of powerful alignments here with Sun, Chiron, Saturn, strong formation, very close-knit formation around healing. Uranus, Moon, very, very auspicious, with Moon in Aquarius, that it's sextile to Uranus. But we just want to be aware at this time appetites will be high, and this can be looking forward into the future. We may just want our plan to work out already, but again, Saturn's trine will put a nice slow burn on that. It'll slow it down. Saturn will give reservation, control, and a certain maturity to our cravings, our desires in that regard. But and we have Venus right in this sweet degree of Gemini, critical degree of Gemini, showing up within the first degree. So it's ruling Sun from Gemini, and actually, if we were to look at this in the 3D mode, which I can pull back up, this degree between Taurus and Gemini is the territory of Orion. So there could be on most cusps it's a blend of energies, but on the Taurus Gemini cusp, it strongly favors Taurus, because Taurus is an earth sign. Taurus is a fixed sign. Taurus is steady, it's practical, it's grounded. And Orion is steady, practical, grounded. They share an energetic resonance, where Gemini is like flighty, curious, constantly learning, assimilating facts, informations, data, putting together a picture of the world. Orion is pretty well hunting for food, is like quietly and carefully stalking its prey. So this is a real world energy, a let's get things done energy. And I only bring Venus up because Venus rules the Sun. Here, Venus is still ruling Taurus, has moved into Gemini. Mars has moved into Cancer. But yeah, so we have a situation that is also good for profitability and gain, good luck, harmony, blessing, that sort of thing, especially Venus being trine to Jupiter. Jupiter with Moon, trine Venus, very, very auspicious. You may start to see some of the cycle's blessings come into fruition even at this time, or you may see, depending on the seeds you've sown in past cycles, you may see the fruition of your own designs and ventures, financially speaking, bear fruit at this time. And Mars remains in its formation with Pluto from Cancer, which is, that's nice. We're on the Gemini-Cancer cusp, technically speaking, almost exact on the cusp with Mars. So there still is the Gemini influence, the sort of like wandering eye, the sort of hay sailor. Cancer Mars is a whole different beast. It's actually very caring. It's very protective. It fights to protect the family. It's very much a lover, not a fighter kind of thing. But squared by Aries, that's T squared by Aries, the Mars Pluto thing, I wouldn't recommend, as high as the desire nature might be at this time. I would not necessarily recommend initiating new relationships, especially due to Saturn's contact with Venus, which is of the nature of the sesquiquadrate. Again, a stress aspect, having to do with being challenged, challenged from outside forces, but really you could also be challenged by inner forces with Venus on the Taurus cusp. And I just, I would just recommend really strongly through the whole cycle, not that we don't, date, not that we don't, I mean, if you have a Tinder or a Grindr and you love to hook up, like, don't let me tell you, don't do anything stupid. But what I'm suggesting is there's going to be high libido, like forceful life force energy that wants to express itself in a Mars-Pluto way. It wants to merge. It wants to do that thing. And there's the option here. There's an option to channel that into activity and growth in our personal life, in accord with our intentions and our plans to build here. And you can have it both ways. You can definitely, engage sexually, engage in a relationship way, and you can build. But the contraindication is the Aries T-square, that chaos can arise out of acting on this libido nature at this time. So just something to be aware of. Certainly not a deal breaker, and nothing against Grindr or Tinder. It's just that everything's so powerful right now. Sun on Aldebaran, we've got so much opportunity here, and Saturn is just tending to the more disciplined and reserved anyway. So we have this formation here that really holds a lot of opportunity. We have these semi-sextiles too with Moon, Saturn, Uranus, Sun, to heal. This whole formation I just outlined is actually, there's a sextile here, there's two squares here. It's another very tightly knit, a very integrated, tightly knit formation, which centers on Chiron in Pisces, really the nature of spiritual healing, and focuses on Uranus in Aries, taking new chances, new initiative, Moon in Aquarius, with Jupiter, profit gain, increase, abundance. So these are a lot better configured, and there's a lot more assistance here. If we turn our sail into that wind, we're likely to get somewhere really worth going, where if we're running around, just doing the desire nature thing, this is likely not to be stable, likely to cause chaos, likely to be regrettable, straight up. So, just watch it. Just be careful out there, Star family. I want to look at the next new moon. And the next new moon, we'll just take a sneak peek. Mercury certainly combust here. On June 10th, we're close enough to the nodes that we're going to have another eclipse. This will be a solar eclipse in constellation Taurus with Neptune square, with Saturn, Uranus perfecting. And this is going to be of the same nature energetically. The signature is going to be around insight, hunches, prophetic dreams, visionary experiences, which are actionable, which are actually intelligent connection to, or a connection to an intelligent world. The universe here is going to be moving through us. So we're going to have a solar eclipse in Taurus of the nature of this kind of intuition and guidance. And I find that rather good. I find that exciting. And we have a chance to build here. We have a chance to generate some stability on a personal level and on a collective level after this just shitstorm cycle that has come through the last year. So let's use these 2 moons, the full moon here and the new moon on June 10th, to connect, to reach out, ask for guidance, ask for what you're supposed to be doing. If you're not already knowing, here's my mission, get a mission. If you're not already knowing, here's what I want to do with my year, seek it, seek that knowledge, get clear on what we want to build this year, how we want to grow. And with that, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. I wish you an amazing month. I hope you're all able to tap into this most beneficially. I hope you all profit like bosses. And if you do make that extra money and you want to come connect with me on your natal chart, transits, synergy, the best time to accomplish particular action in your life, or any other topic in the purview of my astrological practice, check me out at oneskyastrology.com and come join the Sidereal Revolution. That's a group on Facebook that is where people who are practicing this kind of astrology like to hang out and dork out. So thank you to everybody for watching. You know the whole thing, like, subscribe, yada yada. And my very best to you all. Blessings and goodbye.